hub for the Australian electrical industry. I hope you can hear me well. So just to make a quick introduction about myself, I'm Juan Moreno Alamo, the head of marketing and communication for Legrand in Australia. Just a very quick words about my company. So as you may know, our main two brands are HPM and Legrand, and we design, develop, manufacture equipment for electrical installations for all the product that an electrical contractor may need for a domestic or commercial or industrial building. About myself, I've been working for Legrand for 15 years in different locations worldwide, and in the head office of the group in France, always in marketing related positions. So just a little bit of housekeeping for you who are familiar with the webinar. We are going to make the presentation. I'm going to begin myself, and then I'm going to hand over to Ian from ABB. And we kindly ask you to ask any question by typing on the main chat text that you have on your screen, and we will answer all the questions at the end of the webinar. So to begin with, Internet of Things. So what is our understanding from Legrand about the Internet of Things? What we believe is this is the Web 3.0. You may be familiar with this word of the Web 1.0, 2.0. That was the second generation of the Internet, with dynamic web pages, with the user-generated content, with the growth of the social media, the Facebooks, the Instagram. What we believe is that now we are entering, we are in the first stages of the Web 3.0. That's the web of the connected object, of Internet of Things. So what it is basically the extension of the Internet, of this big repository of information and communications that are Internet. So the link of that world with our physical world, with the world of where we behave. And what is interesting, this extension of the Internet to the objects of the physical world, to the things. What is interesting, and here we have in this slide we have presented a definition. You will find many definitions online. This is the one that we tend to agree in Legrand, and is the fact that a connected device is a device for which the functionalities are enhanced or are augmented thanks to its capability to communicate with the internet, with this internet connection. And why is that important? Is this added value capability is to bring additional functionality, additional benefit, additional services to the user, to increase his experience on behaving with our product. So that's for us what is important in this definition that you have in the screen, is about added value for the user, and is about the capability of the device, of this connected device, to communicate, to talk with other services or other devices. And we're going to see a little bit later why that is important. In the next slide, what we want to share with you, professionals from the electrical industry, is that today the media is covered with connected object in the B2C market. It means devices for the end users. Everybody is hearing about the Apple Watches, is hearing about the Fitbits. What we believe is actually the majority of the connected devices in the building are going to be B2B. What does it mean? It's going to be, they're going to be a product that are going to bring additional services or additional functionalities for the professionals, either for the tradesmen, for the electrical contractors in the way that they maintain or they install electrical devices, or to the facility managers in commercial buildings for supervision, for energy metering, for controls, or when we're talking about the residential and domestic market, that's where it's going to be probably more a B2C market. But just this slide, what we want to convey as message is that don't think that Internet of Things is just gadget that people are going to buy at GB Hi-Fi to put it in their home. It's going to be much bigger than that. And we expect this market to be an extremely high growth rate market. We believe that is going to grow by around 20% in a few years, by 2020. So a very interesting new segment for the electrical contractors to position themselves. This is going to be interesting solutions and product that you can sell to your customers, both I insist in domestic and non-residential buildings. If we talk about the domestic market, we see that the connected devices are going to be mainly spread into these three categories. Household appliances, so it may sound a little bit like science fiction at the moment, but this is happening and is going to become mainstream in the very short term. Connected fridges, connected washing machine, dishwashers. This is going to be one category of product. You see it already with the TV. Today you have. You see the latest models from Samsung or from Sony or LG. They are all connected TVs. So the capability to access additional content, additional services by this ability of the TV to connect to cloud-based services or content. The health, that's probably the sector that today we are seeing a lot of product coming through. The Fitbit probably is the most popular one that I'm sure that you all know about it. All these running watches and healthcare and health frequency health monitors. The ones that we're really interested on, obviously, is the ones that are related to the smart home. So we are all familiar with home automation, with the smart homes. That's been we have been talking about it for many years now, and Legrand has been positioned in that market for close to 20 or 25 years. We believe that the Internet of Things is going to be a major leap forward in this segment. I don't know if some of you may have seen the recent keynote done by Apple in San Francisco. That was at the beginning of this month of September to present their new iOS and to present their new iPhone 7 Apple Watch. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, spent a fair bit of time talking about the Apple new app called Home or HomeKit. So when giants like Apple, like Google are moving into this segment, it means that probably that's going to be the next big thing. Is the capability to command different systems of your home, your lighting, your heating, the access to your home through connected devices. So those are the three key domains that we see in the domestic market. The one obviously that Legrand is going to focus on, and I'm going to introduce you a little later some solutions is the smart home, obviously. This is in this slide. what what I'm sharing with you is the result of a research that was done in France some months ago among end users. The results, I think, they can be extrapolated to Australia. I don't see why the population in France will be very much different to the Australian population in regards to Internet of Things and cloud-based services. What was interesting is that 65% of the French end users who were interviewed expressed the intention to purchase connected devices within the next 6 months. And what is more interesting is that more than half of them were interested to purchase connected devices in relation to home automation. So the way that we translate that into action for us is clearly that there is an underlying demand, a latent demand there among the end users, and this is opportunities for us, is opportunities for Legrand as a manufacturer. We believe this is an opportunity as well for our electrical industry partner, for our wholesalers, for our electrical contractors. There is a market there, and is important. It's time to position ourselves to address this market. So now, what is the vision? What we want to do at Legrand? We have created a specific initiative or a specific program to address this new market. We believe that the experience that we have in home automation, in technology related to the electric installations, is an interesting background for Legrand to build on. And as I said, our objective is to bring smart solutions both for domestic market and commercial market, as well for individuals, for end users, as well as for the professionals of the electrical industry. And that's the program that we have called Elliot. Just to show you this label, so this label or this brand that we have created is going to be on all the products that are connected objects, that are IoT, are going to have this brand called Elliot. And what does it mean? It's just the amalgamation of the EL for electricity and IoT for Internet of Things. So EL plus IoT, Elliot. And that brand is the brand that you're going to find in all the products that are going to have a IoT capability in the Legrand catalog. We are going to address products both in regards to assisted living, and this is another very interesting market, very growing market that probably you are already there. If not, we strongly recommend you to look after it. It's the aged care market, very grow market in Australia. The baby boomers arriving to the 60, 70 years old, and there is a need for specific services, specific electrical installations to adapt the homes for these elderly persons. You are going to see in the next month coming to Australia product from Legrand to address this assisted living market. Very interesting market to position ourselves. Safety with the door entry system mainly, comfort and well-being, and energy management. I'm going to end my presentation before handing over to Ian to tell you that for us what is really important is the interoperability. So the make sure that the product that you use that are connected are able to operate and talk with other products and other services. The direction that we are taking ourselves is to partner with the three big players, with Microsoft, with Nest, actually is Google, as you may know, and the HomeKit system from Apple. That's very important because by this interoperability, we're going to be able to provide to the user additional services and additional functionalities in our product. Now to go a little bit more further, one of the key expectations from the users, as it shows the result of our research, is about security. Okay, all this data that is going to be circulating between my device and the cloud. Is there a risk that this data is going to be compromised or is going to be hacked? Very important, make sure that the product that you use are extremely secure in terms of what are the cloud services that are used, the encryption in the communication between the device and the internet, to protect the data confidentiality, to protect the user. The position that we have taken from the grant is that we are taking the top tier, we are partnering with Microsoft actually on their cloud-based data centers to make sure that we fulfill the top tier and the maximum and more strict security protocols and services. And we are not going to share the information on the connected devices installed at the user's home or in the commercial premises with any third party, unless there is a specific agreement from the user, and if that sharing that information provide additional services and benefit for the user. Otherwise, we won't communicate any kind of information to any other company. Product, just as a sneak peek, we haven't launched it yet. It's going to happen before the end of the year, so basically in the next 2 months. You may be familiar with the Beticino door entry system. That's part of the Legrand Group range of brands. So the first one is going to be, we call it the Class 300. So it's a video intercom with IoT capabilities. Basically, and you're going to understand it, I'm pretty sure, very quickly. I'm at home, someone calls in the intercom. I receive the call both in the internal unit, in the internal screen of the intercom system, and I can receive the call as well on my smartphone. What is more interesting is that I'm away, I'm not at home, I'm at the office or I'm on holidays. Someone calls at home, I can receive the call as well on my smartphone. I can see the picture of the person who is in front of my door. I can take the call and interact and communicate with him. And I can, for example, give him access to go to the lobby and to leave, for example, the parcel, if it's a parcel from the Strand Post, to leave it at the front desk, for example. So that's one of the products that we are going to release very, very soon. That's going to be a product for both detached houses in the form of a kit, of an intercom kit with external unit, internal unit, and the IoT capability. And we're going to provide it as well for the multi-residential, for multi-dwelling, for towers of apartments. The other one, linked a little bit around that, is a very simple, very easy to install and to deploy connected doorbell. So it's a doorbell that not only actually rings the bell inside the home, but it also has the capability to send a picture of the person and divert the call as well onto a smartphone. So this one is, let's say, a simplified version of the connected intercom that we just saw before. And for entertainment, you may be familiar with the Nuvo system from Legrand. That's a multi-room, high fidelity sound diffusion with a capability to control the device or control the sound diffusion with your smartphone. And the IoT capability is the services associated to this product, as you can access your iTunes music library and different services, online services like Pandora, Deezer, and etc. All these online music services. And this is my last slide before handing over to Ian, is about the care that we have put on the design of the screens for the user interfaces. So make them very easy to understand, very intuitive, so they don't require any kind of training. Very easy to use, very easy to commission, very easy to connect. That's all for me. Ian, I hand over to you.
Thanks, Juan. And from my part, hello to everybody, and thank you very much for dialing into this webinar. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I've had a little bit of a technical issue with the computer, so I believe the audio is coming through okay, so hopefully that will continue. Some of you may have heard my voice before talking about a variety of topics through the Voltimum webinars. I was proposing to touch again because we're talking a little bit about building automation and how it relates to the Internet of Things also. So to recap a little bit, and I'm just trying to advance a slide and it's not doing it for me, so bear with me. Okay, there we go. You may have seen this slide once before or something quite similar to it, and it's just to recap a little bit about KNX. KNX is it's a bus building automation system. It's been around for quite some time. One of the beauties of it is the fact that it is an open protocol, and quite a variety of companies are involved. About 430 different manufacturers involved these days, and they're producing roughly about 7,000 different products that are compatible with the same protocol. So it certainly has its advantages. It gives a lot of choice for the electrical contractors in what they're trying to achieve when they're looking towards producing or in contributing to a smart home or a building automation solution for a client. So essentially, you're quite familiar, I'm sure. It's a bus system, so your power cabling goes out to various devices. A lot of the sensors and actuators, such as light switches and actuating devices or touch screens and such, are simply wired using a two-wire bus, and then the controls are actually built into the system from there. So this has been around for quite some time. It's been standardised into the IEC standard, and it's currently being spoken about as far as it becoming an Australian standard as well. So we might see that occurring in there.
Okay, I think we may have a little bit of a technical issue. Ian, I think we have lost you. Can you please check your microphone? We cannot hear you. Okay. I don't know if you can hear me. This is Juan from the brand. Just give us 5 minutes. We're going to try to connect with Ian. We're going to try to connect with Ian again. In the meantime, I may answer one of the questions that came through the main chat. Craig, you were asking about training. Is it going to become available? Yes, Craig, is going to become available. Just bear in mind that the intention that we have for many of these IoT products that we are developing on the Elliott program is to be extremely easy to install and to commission. They are going to be all Wi-Fi enabled, so it's going to be as simple as being able to connect to the main hotspot of the premise and link it to the DSL router of the premise. But yes, it's going to be available. I don't know if that answers your question, Greg, but definitely there will be training available. Yes, so Steve, you're talking about the video for the doorbell. This video is under it's about to be released. It's going to be available on the Le Grand Australia YouTube channel. So if you guys go to YouTube and you type on the research field Le Grand Australia, there you're going to have access to close to, I think, 30 or 40 videos that we have already today, and that's where we're going to place as well presentation videos, tutorials on this new IoT or Elliott product. All right, I'm going just to check with Ian. I think. Yes, okay, so we have a little bit of a problem with Ian. He has lost his internet connection. Just please excuse us for this inconvenience, and we're going to try to have Ian back online as soon as possible. I'm sure it's going to be just a question of a few minutes. All right, don't hesitate if you have any other question. Please ask in the meantime. All right, so I think Ian is back. So Ian, don't hesitate to jump in as soon as you're available.
Lon, can you hear me?
Yes, Ian, I think we can hear you. Please go ahead.
No problem. My apologies, everybody. It's wonderful we're talking about technology, and then the technology lets us down. I completely lost my internet connection for a moment. So I was chatting a little bit about the KNX structure, and most of you would have perhaps seen this before. This particular protocol has been around for quite some time, and one of the great advantages, of course, is the fact that it's an open protocol with all these various manufacturers involved. What KNX and the KNX Association in Europe were looking at a few years ago is the concept of the KNX City. And with the KNX City, they're looking at various buildings communicating with each other. Also take into consideration what they refer to as mobility. So this is the transport movement of people going to and from perhaps a central business district, the infrastructure requirements of the city, and of course that then leads to the energy requirements of the city as well. By having renewables, a very topical thing that many cities and many countries have, we can take advantage of perhaps an oversupply of renewables in a given area. So rather than looking at building automation at just the one building or the one home even, with the concept of KNX City, it was extended then to look at a neighbourhood, and then to a suburb, and then to a city. so that the whole area is actually working together and utilising perhaps a surplus of energy in one area to compensate for a requirement in another area. We can also then take into consideration, as I mentioned, the movement of people to and from the city at certain times of the day. So all of these things can already be done, and the way this is done effectively is through communication, and that communication is generally web-based. So really the concept of IoT, the Internet of Things, has actually been around for quite some time, and it's actually also been quite achievable for quite some time. Moving on to the next slide. According to Wikipedia, and just talking about IoT, that was a phrase that was actually originally coined by a gentleman by the name of Kevin Ashton. He was an English fellow, and he worked at a company called Auto ID Labs, and they were involved with RFID type labelling of products. And in 1999, so it goes back that far, he came up with this idea or this concept, and he called it the Internet of Things. So essentially what the definition, and again this is according to Wikipedia, so we've got a network of physical objects or so-called things, which a lot of electronics, software, sensors and whatnot inside them, and they have a network connectivity. So those objects can collect and exchange data, and it must have the ability for a connection from a physical world, so the thing is a physical thing, and to computer-based things. Importantly, each thing, as we call it, it's a strange term, isn't it? But each thing is uniquely identifiable. So, as we call it these days, each device has an IP address. Reflecting back into the KNX world, each device has a group address. So everything is actually completely identifiable and programmable for what it needs to do, because you can select right down to an individual light switch in an individual room what the requirement of that switch has to be and what it needs to do. So looking forward, they believe that by 2020 there'll be an estimated 50 billion objects or things out in the virtual world that can potentially be talking to each other or connected in some way. So one of the things that can be done, I feel like I want to avoid the word thing now, one of the concepts that relate to this can be the world of KNX and how it operates within the IoT structure. So moving from that, buildings can already talk to each other, and they have done for quite some time. It's a matter of having the protocol to be able to do it and using the structure of the World Wide Web as our communications. So right now, even in more complex building automation solutions, we're already having buildings talking to each other, and they'll be talking perhaps using either a web connection, using IP routers. It could be through an Ethernet hard connection, and the information of one building can be related to a second building, and that then becomes the total automation solution of a number of buildings. And this has actually been done for quite some years already, so the technology is definitely already there. Some of the areas where we might like to do that is for facilities management, the way we manage our buildings, certainly for energy management, where we try to get conservation of energy, utilising the requirements of one building. And as I mentioned earlier, if you've got renewable energy sources, you've got a surplus in one building, a requirement in the other building, you maintain the building that has the requirement within the capacity of the building that has the surplus, and therefore you're not drawing power then from any extra area. We are getting a few questions in there. We will address the questions as we get to the end. So the balancing of energy consumption, as I mentioned. So, like I say, there is a concept, or not so much a product, called the KNX Net IP. It's been around for about 10 years in the KNX world. KNX themselves don't actually deal with products, that's up to the manufacturers. But they have the idea and they have the software, which the product manufacturers then produce the products, and it becomes a real device that yourselves as contractors might decide to purchase. So looking back at our definition, physical objects that could relate directly to the KNX devices that we have spoken about in previous sessions. The network connectivity in the KNX world, we've got twisted pair, we can communicate over power line, and of course we've got IP. The collection and exchange of data is done through the group objects and interfaces which already exist in the KNX world. And these interfaces, obviously, different devices and computers. The requirement to be uniquely identifying each particular thing or object is taken up by the individual group addresses. So as you can see, as we're going through these requirements from the Wikipedia definition of IoT, it's already been covered off basically by the capabilities of a protocol such as KNX. So how do we put it all into practice? Well, as I mentioned, there's actually quite a number of different solutions which have already been put into play. This is what I've got here is one particular slightly extreme example. This particular project, it's a house in Melbourne. They've kept the suburb a little bit secret, just for the sake of the owners, I guess, but it's obviously one of the more expensive areas because it's a 4-floor home and it's one with a lot. So it's got a gym, a cellar, a 10-person cinema and a spa area. It's all in the basement. His and her studies, a library, a living room, kitchen on the ground floor. There's a 4-bedroom guest area on the first level, and the second level is completely dedicated as a master suite. So in this one home, there's 350 KNX devices from a variety of different vendors, which are all working together on the same platform to provide the solution of energy management, renewables, audio-visual, lighting, shutters, HVAC, appliances, etc., 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 even to the point where they have a golfing simulator built into the gymnasium area. There's renewables built into it, so all manner of things are into this home, and this was taken to the most extreme level. What's important about this, the house can be actually viewed, communicated and managed from anywhere in the world because of the IP functionality, which relates then to the IoT world that we're talking about. And this has certainly been done for quite some time. With something like KNX, and a very important part about that is the fact that it is held together by the IEC standard. So any manufacturer, and ABB included, we're a member of the association, but we can't influence changes to the standard because it is a standard. So no single manufacturer can make a change. We can't decide at a whim that we want to do things slightly differently because then it doesn't comply with the standard. And it removes the whole benefit that the industry has in having something so secure and essentially future-proof, because no matter what happens, because of the standardization, people will always be able to use products on this same protocol. As an example, we're in a different world now because of IoT and all sorts of things that weren't thought of some years ago. But a KNX system, the system's been around for about 25 years. A KNX system that was installed 25 years could have a brand new product that's purchased in 2016 installed onto it because of the standardization. So it's pretty important from a backward and therefore forward compatibility. And as we move into IoT, we need to consider these things as well. The technology is moving together at such a fast pace we need to consider, well, what happens in the future? How do we take care of things? And essentially for I would expect most of the audience listening to this, it's how do you guys keep up with it? Because there's going to be so many different protocols out there, so many different ways of achieving the same result. And potentially there are some manufacturers that might introduce a particular protocol, and in a couple of years' time they may not exist, or they've been absorbed by another company, and that benefit is then lost. With something of the nature of KNX, because it's held together by the standard, that security is always there, both for you and for your customers. So we can see how things are going to work together with the IoT world. That is pretty much what I was going to say. I think we'll try and keep it at 40 minutes, and look at that, we're actually bang on 40 minutes, even though I had that slight technical glitch along the way. Thank you very much for your attention. So there's two things. We'll go back through the questions that have been typed, and after we've gone through those questions with Juan and myself, depending on what the question is, at the very end there'll be a very brief survey that Voltimum would like you to have a look at and offer your comments, and it's all to do with trying to make sure that we keep these sorts of sessions as topical and up to date and beneficial for you guys as much as possible. So we'll have a look at the questions. Craig was asking, as an electrical contractor, is training going to become available in programming? As he tried to get some training before and was told that it wasn't available. From my point of view, Craig, it certainly is available, depending on what your question was directed to. I'll answer for KNX, and then I'll hand over to Juan for his further comment. Certainly with KNX, I'm not sure where you are. RMIT University in Melbourne providing training sessions for KNX. There's a number of training associations and training groups which are offering training in each state. So it is quite possible that the training will be there. And if you contact either the KNX national group, knx.org.au, they'll have information about training, or contact one of the manufacturers that are involved with KNX, they'll certainly be able to point you in the right direction. Juan, have you got something to add to that?
Yes, thank you, Ian. Actually, while you were trying to connect back into the webinar, I answered Greg. So Greg, I think he's based in Queensland, and just to confirm, in the same direction as Ian is just stating, we are going to have trainings on the Elliott program product, and as soon as those trainings are scheduled, I will come back to you to tell you exactly the dates for and the ones that the location that will be more convenient for you.
Okay, Juan, have you answered the question in relation to the video for the doorbell?
Absolutely, yes. That was already answered. I think the one from John about the IP addresses that are available. Actually, as far as I know, IP addresses they are managed by the Internet governance body, and since it's a critical element of our internet world, I don't have any concern that they are going to find solutions to make IP addresses pretty much infinite, actually. Or I don't have a concern about that. I don't know, Ian, if you want to comment on that.
I would tend to agree with you. I don't know what concept they will actually come up with, but it is definitely being thought of, and some form of structure which will give the individual identification will actually come up. So the IP addresses might be a little different to what we're familiar with right now, but the growth of this area is certainly well known and well recognised, so certainly something will be done with it. Nathan had a further question then in relation to, is there a plan to support the do-it-yourself market? My comment on that is yes, there are certain products which suit a do-it-yourself market, and we're going to see more and more products like that. When we're getting into more complex installations, it is actually the realm of the electrical contractor to get involved, and I would encourage all of you contractors that are listening to think pretty seriously about getting involved with some of these areas of building automation and other areas of that nature. This will be the future. In the old days, everyone was saying that people don't seem to. You don't have to worry about it if you're a good old Sparky, and I'm a Sparky. I was always told when I was a young kid that they said it doesn't matter about all this technology because you still need the Sparky to pull in the 415. Well, that's true, but there are business opportunities in areas such as automation and what's happening with the Internet of Things is really big, and it's something you've got to try and keep up with and find the areas that you're comfortable with and the areas that are going to be beneficial for your business. Nathan, a further question, following on from that, the retrofit market. Retrofit is an area that we are seeing it's being addressed. Some of particularly in home automation, there's wireless switches, for example, that can be done. So it makes it a lot easier than if you, instead of having to pull in extra cables and do all sorts of things, the actual sensors or the devices such as your switches can operate on wireless. And there's various methods being looked at, and certainly technology is available, where they can actually pull power from a particular technique in the home. So you don't have to worry about batteries and all these sorts of things. That sort of technology is coming, and it's going to make the retrofit market a really interesting space. So people can actually get the automation that they would like to have, but some of those really difficult installations, which are very, very tricky as far as to getting into the retrofit, can actually be overcome using wireless technology. So it's here now. We're going to see that space fill up even more. Juan, I think there's a question for you there as well from Scott.
Thank you, Ian. Yes, absolutely. And just to build as well on Nathan's questions from Legrand's side, look, yes, we are going to, as Legrand and with our brands here in Australia, both HPM and Legrand, we are covering the full market, both the trade market or the professional market as well as the DIY. So we are going to have some products that are more DIY. Typically, the doorbell that we were seeing right before, this is a product that is battery operated, that can safely be installed and configured by oneself. But then there's going to be a full set of solutions for the electrical contractor, for our trade business. So solutions that are wired, that require a certified contractor to install and to configure and commission the product. So definitely we're going to be focusing the trade market. Retrofit as well, as Ian was saying, many of the solutions that we have are for are radio frequency based. So clearly being able to be installed in a quick manner without having to run buses or additional power wires. As Steve is stating right now in the comments, we have Zigbee wireless switches. They are not exactly, let's say, IoT devices. They are switches that communicate between each other with the radio frequency. And so extremely easy to add additional lighting points without having to run any additional cable. Just installing the product without running cables. They work on battery. And Scott, more than happy actually to be able to participate in another webinar about assisted living, safety and energy management. And more particularly, I think the assisted living and the aged care will be a very interesting webinar, because this is a very interesting market to address. Retirement villages, nursing homes, many things are going on that market. Many business opportunities for the electrical contractor to position themselves in this market. Ian, back to you.
Okay, well, there's a further question about Legrand having Zigbee wireless switches. I believe you do, Juan.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Steve, as I was mentioned, yep, those products are already available, and as was previously trying to comment, is very handy. You just if you need to add additional switching point in an office, in a home, no need to run cables, no need to run additional mains power. Those Zigbee wireless switches are battery operated, and they communicate between them on radio. So basically, the additional light points are going to, it's very, very simple commissioning. It's just like a push and learn pairing system. And you can add additional lighting points whenever you want without having to run cables. Extremely easy. And the batteries last, I think, is 5 years. So really convenient and fast to install. They are implemented in both our XL Life range and RTO range, the premium high-end wiring device or backlight range.
That sounds great. Okay, are there any further questions from people that are still online? I can't see anyone typing, so we must have covered off on it. So now, if you could, I think Asma from Voltimum will start up the survey, and yeah, please participate in the survey because it makes the future webinars improvement. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much.